What's up, guys? Alex here. We are about ready to film Rise Videocast episode 3 right now. We got Nick over here. He's editing some videos, trying to act like he knows what he's doing. And then Tyler, Matt. So we're going to hook this up.
Water break.
Before we started.
Cut!
Time out.
Alright, ready?
Yep.
Let's do this thing. Alright. Another week, another Rise Videocast episode 3. Recording now. What is going on? We got Alex in the studio. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. Doing pretty good. We've been here a few hours now. Just got wrapped up recording with Team Tag and Brag. We went live on Instagram with the boys over there from Cleveland, so that was pretty fun. Alex drove up from downstate, and we're going to BS a little bit tonight about kind of some things we've got going on right now and over the next couple of weeks and next couple of months even. So, Total Archery Challenge this weekend. You bailed on us.
I didn't bail on you. I'm getting married next year, so this year's been a little tight for me. So I'm trying to save time, save some money. But next year, after the wedding's over, it's time to go.
Yeah, no, we all understand that, but we just got to give you shit for it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be right of us. So, no, we're going Total Archery Challenge this weekend up at Boyne Mountain. Looking forward to that. Blake from Badlands is going to be there. We're going to stop in and chit-chat with him for a bit and kind of go over some of the products they've got. It's going to be fun, man. I wish you could make it, but obviously life happens and you got, other priorities. But it's we're a little nervous because I hear the shots are pretty tough.
Oh, you guys will be fine. I know we haven't got to shoot the new bows too much yet, just during turkey season and normally close shots, but you guys will be fine. Just aim high.
Yeah. No, we kind of sighted the expeditions in. We got them here probably a month and a half ago. Got them sighted in for turkey season and got them shooting really good to 30. I think we even shot a little bit to 40 yards. So, I mean, we'll shoot this week out to 50 and 60 yards. But I think the course we're doing is the Mountain Ops course, which they have shots, I believe, up to 75 yards. I heard.
Ooh,
I think so.
You boys better take a couple extra arrows.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a distance, but as long as they don't throw a bunch of trees and rocks in front of the targets, I think we should be all right. So that'll be fun. Tyler, Nick, and I are heading up there, and so we'll be there Sunday, 9:30. I would tell you guys to, if you see this video and you see us up there, to join and come say hi. But by the time you see this, we're gonna have already shot it. Which actually, when you guys see this, it'll be yesterday that we were there shooting. So that'll be fun. But yeah, is it still raining out there right now?
I think it just stopped. It was pouring on my drive up here. It was really, really bad.
I feel like the last time we recorded, I asked if it was still raining too. So if that gives you any indication of what's been going on here in Michigan lately, it's been nothing but rain and rain and rain.
Yeah, these poor farmers, they are going to be way behind the 8 ball getting their crops in. Almost every field right now is a solid lake. So if you got a boat, start spreading some seed. But we're in trouble here. Yeah,
I guess I made out all right. I got 2 fields in. One flooded out, but it lived. It's doing pretty good. But I'm feeling for Tyler right now because we had big plans of putting in a really nice big soybean field at his property, and it's underwater. There's nothing we can do about it. We went in, we cleared out I think it's close to 4 acres. We cleared out a bunch of trees, worked it up, got hammered with rain, and it's underwater.
Yeah, it happens, and I feel for Tyler, too. I saw his Instagram story the other day, and it looks like he's got about 2 feet of water there. I've honestly never had that happen where it's flooded out in the spring early, but I planted food plots where they came up lush and great and got down there for the rut, and they got flooded out by 2-3 feet of water. So it's Mother Nature always throws a wrench into everything, but hey, we just got to deal with what happens.
Yeah, I think that would be even worse having them flooded out during season because you have no time to prepare or plan for. At least now, we can switch everything over on his farm there for fall plantings for some other stuff. So I guess wasn't what we were looking for, but it'll come around. This might be the year for him. Seems like every time something goes really wrong, something really good comes out of it.
I seem to have the same luck on that. Every time I get poison ivy, I end up shooting something good later on that year. No, Tyler's got time. He's just going to have to kind of switch over and do some fall food plots, maybe some winter bulbs, sugar beets, or radishes, something like that. He's got some time, but it does throw a wrench into things because now in Michigan we can't bait anymore, so food is key.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be key to have those food plots in, and we've known this, since last year. We've been we knew it was coming, and had a little bit of time to prepare for it. Not that we hunted over bait a lot before, but it was nice to have on the property, whether it be a feeder or a mineral site or something. So by them taking that away, it's going to change things up. But we're going to adapt and we're gonna make it work. Now, do you know if they're getting the rain out in Kentucky too?
Um, I'm not sure. Right now, I was able to get down there and put disc up a couple fields, so I haven't had to plan anything yet. All my plans are for fall food plots, so I'm not too worried. So hopefully we'll just get the rain in the fall after I plant.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're coming off a few years of leasing in Ohio and going straight head first into your first year in Kentucky, right?
Yep.
First ever year in Kentucky. So I guess the overall topic of today's videocast is going to be building a new property, and we're going to dive into Kentucky a little more in depth here with Alex later. But I guess just to generalize things, when getting a new property, as you've actually done, this will be your second year in a row, you're diving into new properties. One last year was in Ohio, and now this year in Kentucky. But when you are looking or searching out a new piece, or you gain a new piece, what are some things you're looking for?
First off, on the bat, I'm looking how much food the property has. Hunting in southern Ohio, most people know there's not many crop fields down there, so again, food is key. Getting food plots in. Ohio has you can bait down there as well. If the property has more crops on it and not as much woods, then definitely I'm kind of switching, and I'm going to try to put more bedding into the property. Mm-hmm. So really, I look at the property and see what it's lacking. Does it have food? Does it have cover? And does it have water? Whatever it's lacking is what I'm going to focus on, and that's what I'm going to do to get ready for that fall.
Yeah, that's definitely a big piece of the puzzle. There is having those essentials, food, water, and cover, and obviously keeping the pressure off the deer to make them feel safe and stuff like that. But everyone hears a lot about building food plots or planting food plots and maybe building water holes and stuff like that. But something that isn't talked about so often is building bedding areas and how to approach and stay out of these areas. What are some things you've done to promote or build areas where you can get a buck to bed throughout the season?
Different things. Depends on if you have open areas, then I'll be planting stuff like switchgrass, Egyptian wheat, something tall, something the deer like to bed in. They have cover, they feel safe. If it's more solid timber, I'll definitely go in there and start hinge cutting certain areas where I feel like the bucks may want to bed more. So I'll hinge cut a ton of trees down, make it thick, nasty, and it's worked very, very well for me in the past. It seems like I've taken areas of properties that the deer haven't used, and I've hinge cut them, and then the deer start using them like crazy. So I'm more cover over food. I think they need to survive a little bit more than they need to eat. They need to eat too, but if they have thick, nasty cover, they're going to be there, and most of the time all year long.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, say you get on a new property, and you're trying to figure it out, and you're putting some trail cameras up, trying to see deer activity. What are the areas you're concentrating on? Say you pick up a farm in the spring. You've got enough time before season to monitor it with trail cameras and maybe even with visual sightings. But anyway, for the camera aspect, where are you putting your cameras to see, and I guess what are you looking for?
I'm really just getting back to the basics, looking for old rubs or fresh rubs, runways, tracks. You got to get back to the basics. Down where I've been hunting the last few years is very hilly country, so I really like the shelves that are on the sides of the ridges. I think deer love to run those up and down. So really, like I said, it's just get back to the basics, look for your basic deer sign, and then throw out some minerals if it's early in the year and a camera on it, and then you just kind of adjust from there. And then I'll do a big dive into looking at my trail cams to try to figure out where the deer's coming from, and then I'll actually track them back to figure out where they're bedding or where they're eating more. So I use cameras a ton really just to see what the deer movement is doing, and then just kind of keep pushing back and getting as close to them as possible.
Now describe a little when you're running cameras and paying attention to the direction, say you have a mineral site or a corn feeder or something like that up, and you've got a buck coming in consistently from one direction. What does that tell you? I mean, what are you looking for in the direction he's coming and leaving and those types of things?
Well, if he seems to be coming from the same direction most of the time, I definitely think he'll be bedding in that same direction. So I'll take cameras and I'll keep, on the heavier runs, I'll keep moving him back about 100 yards at a time, try to figure out which run he's actually using, and then, like I said, you just keep tracking him back to his bed. I run a ton of cameras, so that makes it a lot easier. Just kind of tracking them right back to where they bed.
Now, when you're going into this new property and you're carving out food plots and setting up these mineral sites and stuff. What makes you put a food plot in a certain area? Is it bedding? Is it wind? Is it just a good area? It's already cleared, or what are some factors that play out to, okay, I'm gonna put a food plot right here.
A little bit of both. Definitely, if the area is already cleared out and the deer are using it, then I'd love to use those areas. I'll just come in and pretty much disc up the whole area. Sometimes I like to get him down low if possible. Again, tracking the deer back. I don't want to get it right up onto his bed, but I want to get it where he feels safe coming to it during daylight hours.
Right, exactly. Now, when you're hanging stands in these areas, you put in a new food plot. Are you picking stand locations first, or are you picking them after, once deer start using that area and frequenting it, or, once you figure out where they're coming to and from bed, or is this stuff you just go into and my stand's got to go right here because of the wind?
It depends also when I'm going in before I will start turning up dirt. I'll look to make sure there is trees in the area so I can get a tree stand in them or areas for ground blinds. At the same time, I don't always like to hunt right on the food plots. I kind of like to hunt off them 60 to 100 yards. That way I can catch a deer going to them and from them. And once it gets dark or I need to get out of the stand, I'm not blowing every deer out of the country. I rather hunt off them and just catch the deer coming to them.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you alert that deer or that big buck and let him know you're in the area and he's being hunted, the chances kind of go down from there. So you definitely want to go into it and be very careful with where you're putting stands, where you're putting your scent, and try not to bump any deer. And even though a lot of people have food plots and they feel sometimes that you've got to be right on that because that's the attractant, that's where you want to be, is where all the deer are centered. But if you can run those cameras like you were saying and figure out which direction they're coming from and set up on them in that manner without alerting the whole field that you're in there, you're probably a little better off sometimes.
Yeah, your access is definitely the key to the game. If you can get in and out with any deer knowing you're there, you're winning right then. So I do not like to hunt on food. I honestly, all the years I've maybe killed 2 or 3 deer off of a food plot. And like I said, I just get back and catch them coming to and from it. And when you do that, you have a better chance of catching those bucks during daylight because normally they're getting right on those food plots right about at dark or just after dark. So that doesn't do you any good if he's coming in right at dark and then you have to get out of your stand and blow him right out.
Now, talk a little bit about a little more into this access thing. You got a property and let's say it's only got one access point and you know where the deer are bedding, and obviously you don't want to walk your stand through the bedding area, but in relation to wind, how are you accessing? I mean, that's kind of, people look at food plots as, I don't want my wind blowing across the food plot, which is understandable, but I don't think it gets paid as much attention to as walking in the morning, blowing your scent through a potential bedding area or where the deer are out feeding at that moment. Or
one thing too, I don't really hunt mornings in October or December. I'll really only hunt morning hunts during November. I feel like you're pushing more deer out when you're going in. You're just hurting your hunting even more than what you need to be. So I'll sleep in the morning, get a good sleep, and then get after them in the afternoon. Most of the properties that I do hunt, when I'm looking at a property, I make sure there's at least 2 access points to it. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to lease it. The more access, the better. There is times like you were talking about where it might be the easiest way. You can walk 50 yards right into your food plot, but you're chancing bumping deer off where you might want to take about a mile walk, go the long way, watch your wind, and just get in where no deer know that you're in there.
Yeah, it sucks. We're humans, so we naturally are a little on the lazy side. We'd rather walk down a nice groomed trail than hike it down through the creek and up over 2 ridges to get back in there. But a lot of times when you're hunting a specific deer or herd a deer that you don't want to alert, I mean, you got to go a ways out of the way to make sure that they don't know you're around. And so access is key. Like you said, two points of access on a piece of property is really nice. It's not always an option for certain people, and that's, you got to keep that in mind, I guess. But when you can look into those factors and try to put some things together on where deer are laying and where you're going to enter, basically just look at a aerial map. Is that kind of how you lay things out, or are you looking when you're at the farm, like putting boots on the ground that you figure this out?
I do a little bit of both. Beforehand, as soon as I get the property, I'm looking at maps all the time, looking at the different topography, seeing what ways I can get in and out, and then once I get there, then I really make sure I go check those spots, make sure they'll work. If not, I'll try to come up with a backup plan. And then more once you learn the property and you know exactly where those deer are bedding, where they're feeding, then you're much better off. You know where they're going to be. You can slip right in and out.
Now, what about neighboring hunters? How's that come into play with pressure and scent and wind and?
It plays a big key. I had a lease in Ohio last year, and towards the end of the season, found out my neighbor was an outfitter, so I ended up dropping that property pretty quick. Really, you can't control your neighbors. You gotta hunt the best you can hunt, and then the rest is honestly up to luck. Your neighbors can honestly help you out. One thing I've done is getting in my stand a lot earlier in the morning and let those hunters that are getting in right at daylight or just before daylight, let them push deer right to me. So I'm already set up, ready to go. It might still be dark, but I'll have deer all surrounded underneath me, and as soon as it gets light, they help me out right there.
Yeah, that's the thing when you're hunting a property that maybe the neighbor's hunting or even multiple neighbors are hunting around you. You've almost got to try to play a better game than they're playing. You've got to create that sanctuary where the deer feel safe, they don't feel threatened, and as these guys, like you said in Ohio, you got an outfitter next to you. Maybe he's trucking guys in every day on every end of the property, not paying attention to access, and those deer are going to get sick of it after a couple of weeks into October, and they're going to take refuge to your land. And if you don't bump them out and they don't know you're there, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, you got to kind of know your neighbor. I'm big on introducing myself to the neighbors, seeing kind of how they hunt, their hunting style, and if I think that I can use them to my benefit, I definitely will.
Now, are you posting all these properties you go on? Are you making sure to let people know you're in there and you're hunting and you don't want them around? Or are you trying to fly under the radar and not let anybody know anything's going on?
Like I said, I do like to introduce myself to the neighbors. I'm not always going to tell them where I'm from, if I'm hunting or not, but I just want them to know me so they know that I'm good to be on the property because, like I said, I'm hunting out of state most of the time, 5-6 hours away, so I'm only down there once every couple of months in the off season. During deer season, I am down there a lot more, but I like to make friends with everybody. I don't want any enemies. Like I said, I think it can help, especially if they have some decent hunting skills. You guys can kind of match up and start deciding which deer we want to let go, the age structure that you're hunting, what kind of property they have, what kind of food they have, and then if it's someone you really don't want to deal with, I guess to say, then like Matt said, you got to just make your property where those deer don't ever want to leave it, and you got to keep the pressure off.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Introducing yourself to the neighbors is great, and anytime you can work with your neighbors and work together, whether it's a management plan or just an access, like maybe there's an old easement or logging road that cuts through a chunk, and we both just agree that we don't use that during season because maybe that's where deer are bedding or whatever. So anytime you can be friendly to the neighbors and work some things out, that's always good. And who knows what you might learn too. You might learn of a big buck in the area, or they cross this road every day, or you never know. So that's always good to figure out for sure.
One thing I always like to talk to them too, especially even the farmers, the landowners, even if they don't hunt and really don't know much about deer hunting, they can definitely help you out. I had an experience in Ohio where the first time I met the landowner, he's like, hey, up on this ridge, I'm always kicking deer out with a quad. Well, the first year I never looked into that area. The next year I did, and that little tip right there was key.
Yeah. So let's dive right into this Kentucky thing. We've kind of generalized a little bit about what we're looking into going into a new property. You've got a new lease in Kentucky. How did you find it? What's the scoop with it? And how big is it? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I honestly wasn't planning on hunting Kentucky this year. I was trying to find another piece of ground in Ohio. But I met a good buddy through social media doing some podcasts with the Whitetail Legacy guys. His name's Cameron Deerfield, and he ended up stumbling on a guy who has a bunch of property down in Kentucky and asked me if I wanted to go in with him. So we started looking at different maps, and like I said, the guy has a bunch of properties, so I think he probably sent me maps of like 15 properties.
Yeah.
So we kind of looked at them, picked out the one we liked the best, so we ended up with 195 acres down there.
Nice.
Again, it's just like southern Ohio where it's just big hills, thick, nasty, no ag fields. I feel a little bit better because I've been hunting down there for 5 years now, and Nick, our newest member of the Rise, he's been hunting actually about a half hour from this Kentucky property. So I've been down there with him. I filmed him down there, heard him talking about it. So I kind of know what I'm expecting going into it, which, like I said, it's solid timber. So my first thing was it needs food.
Yeah, that's, and especially in the big timber there where there may not be a lot of crop fields around, I think food is probably number one. You know, you get the does in there, and even the bucks throughout the summer, you know, feed them up, and come rut, those bucks are going to be searching hard, you know, wherever they can find the doe groups. But, so it's a pretty big property, it sounds like. How many of you are on the property?
We have 4 guys. Me, my cousin Cameron, and then our buddy Josh. So we got down there about a month ago. We pulled the tractor down all the way from northern Michigan, which was quite a haul. I think it took us about 9 hours to get down there.
Wow.
Don't really have the best truck to be pulling down, so it gets a little hairy pulling down with the 1500. But
Yeah.
we got down there, put in 4 food plots. 2 of them are about an acre in size, and the other 2 are little smaller kind of kill plots. They're about probably about a quarter acre. So we're gonna definitely get a lot of food in the ground down there. We're gonna use baiting to our advantage. I'm not huge on baiting, but I think it's going to definitely help out on this property because, like I said, there isn't an ag field for miles.
Yeah, you know, and just even to take an inventory of what's in the area, being a new property, learning what kind of deer you have to hunt, and, you know, building that hit list and building the age structure and trying to figure out where you're at with that. Now, for food plots, are you guys doing a variety of different food to you know, keep the deer in there throughout the whole year? Or are you guys doing, you know, maybe one blend that is going to be big attractant during season, or what's your take on, or what are you guys going after?
I don't have it all figured out exactly yet of what we'll be planning. It's definitely going to have different things in each plot. I want to see what those deer like the best, and then that way for next year I can plant more of that. Definitely, I think in one of our really big, about an acre size field, we're probably going to have like winter bulbs and sugar beets in there, or radishes, something that's they'll eat early season and they'll be able to have it for late season as well.
Right. Now, have you guys met any of the neighbors over on this piece yet?
Not yet. Actually, I only have neighbors on one side of the property. The other side's a freeway, and then the other side's like exit ramp to the freeway. So it's definitely kind of a weird looking piece of property, but I have some high hopes that we can get something done there. But we've been getting some pictures of some bears, so that's going to throw a wrench into things.
Okay. But now you can buy a bear tag in Kentucky, right?
I believe we can. I have to look into a little bit more. There's different zones for bear hunting in Kentucky, so I have to kind of really dig into that, look a little bit more.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool to have that bonus tag in your pocket going into the fall. So you've got 4 guys on the property. You've got some food plots laid out. You've got kind of a plan put together. You guys all sharing the same management goals, and are you guys all filming? What's the scoop with the guys you're hunting with?
A couple of us are filming. Cameron Deerfield's been filming for a couple of years now. He's running his own crew. My cousin's actually starting filming as well. And then I don't believe Josh films, but like I said, Cameron and Josh have, I think, 5,000 acres total. So
wow.
I don't know if they'll be hunting with us as much, so we might have a little bit more leeway, but I think it's definitely going to be a fun season. When we're down there doing food plots, those guys are straight workers.
Yeah.
They were up until midnight and then awake at 6 o'clock in the morning at the property ready to go. And by the end of the day, they were still racing up the hill. I'm dying over here. And they're running up the hills. I'm like, I hate you guys.
See, I think those guys are kind of bred for that stuff down there in those hills. Like, you know, I had a chance to meet Cameron down at the Ohio Deer and Turkey Expo. Seemed like a really great guy and everything. And you can just tell the guy loves deer because he lives and breathes deer. You can just tell when you first meet him, you just know.
It's solid deer. It's not turkeys. It's not elk. It's nothing. It is deer, and he's one of the hardest working guys I know, and I love that because I'm the same way. And him and I together, I think we're gonna have a pretty good season.
Yeah, I can tell by talking to him a little bit here and there through social media, and then down in Ohio and following along with everything he's doing. I can tell that you guys share the same passion, and it's probably gonna be. You guys, you're gonna do pretty good together, I think.
Yeah, I'm real excited. And he's also got some good ground in Ohio, so might be able to jump over there and hunt as well. But no, I'm excited for this season. It's a change of pace for me. I was hunting from basically when I was 18 till 28, doing the same thing every year, hunting the same properties, and I kind of got out of that. And now I'm kind of all about doing something new every year. I'm trying about challenging myself, killing deer in different ways, just making myself a better all-around hunter.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's easy to almost get burnt out from doing the same thing every year. It's fun to change things up every year. You know, whether it's the people you're hunting with, the land you're hunting, the state, whatever it is, just to change things up and relearn this whole process and even reteach yourself the process. Because I mean, there's things that you've done for years and didn't realize you knew until you started doing it. You're like, oh yeah, no, I kind of forgot about that or whatever. And so it's just fun to go back through the whole process, and every year doing something new and different is a challenge, and it's fun, and that whole process is really cool. But it sounds like you guys got a good group of guys together down there, and you're gonna have some fun this fall. Now, are you guys kind of sharing a camp down there too?
That honestly haven't figured out yet. I'm most likely we will all stay together. Whether we can get a camper down there on the property or just wing it in hotels like we have been for the past few years.
Yeah, no, sounds like you guys are gonna have some fun. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to hit on that property there. Is there anything that jumps out to you about that piece that you think people might want to know about that's a little different than the other pieces you've hunted in the past? I know you said it's big, rugged terrain, and obviously doesn't have any food nearby, so that's what you guys are concentrating on. But is it thick terrain? Is it oak ridges? Or I guess I don't even know what kind of trees. I haven't been in Kentucky a ton. I went down with Nick one time, and I really don't know much about Kentucky.
It's got a mixture of different kind of trees. We got some oaks, some maples. I really think on this property the freeway is going to throw a wrench into things. I think it might help us out in our favor. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, how I can use that to my favor of either access, getting deer in, getting deer out. I think that's going to play a role I've never had to deal with yet.
Yeah.
So it's going to be something new, but yeah, we'll see. I know Kentucky, I don't believe they really have the deer numbers as, I know they don't have deer numbers as Michigan, or I think their deer numbers are even lower than Ohio. So the big thing down hunting that area is you got to have patience. Like, you might only see one deer and you sit 12 hours, but that one deer could be a good one. You got to be on your game at all times. I think that hunting states like Ohio and Kentucky make you a better hunter because you have to be ready at all times. You're not seeing 30 deer a day, $15, where you're pretty much always ready. When you're sitting there for 7 hours and you haven't seen nothing but a couple squirrels, and all of a sudden there's a buck in front of you, you better be able to hit that switch and get into game mode real quick.
Yeah, and you know, Nick and I were talking about this last week on the previous video cast, and I think it's just as much of a mental game as anything else, because you know, hunting these big woods deer, you might sit there for days. Like I mentioned, Tyler and I sat in Ohio last year, 3 days, never saw a single deer. But just knowing that you've put the work in, you've done your homework, and you know what's there, you know that it can happen at any moment because you've seen it happen before that way. And that's, you've got to always stay on your toes, and you've got to stay positive and keep your head in the game, because you never know when that switch is going to flip, and your chance, it might be your only chance all year, is in front of you, and you got to capitalize on it. So sounds like you guys are doing your homework. You got the property kind of laid out the way you want it. Sounds like you got a little more studying to do on it and stuff, and kind of obviously see what's living there other than bears. But, yeah, I just had a really good thought I was going to dive into, and I lost it. Dang it.
But we'll be heading down probably 3-4 weeks. I'm going to get all the 4 food plots. We're going to spray them all. I'm really excited. I can't remember how many cameras I have down there. It's probably between 6 and 10. So I'm excited to check those. I know they have some good growth growing on. I've seen some pictures Cameron sent me from his other properties. Some of those bucks are already outside their ears already. So
good.
Getting excited, and then really hunting it that's the key when you really learn it. Cameras will help you a ton, maps will help a ton, but really just seat time in the stand is what's going to lay the property out for us.
Yeah, and I think on a new property, your first year into it, you might have a total idea through cameras and any other scouting you've done of what the deer movement might be like. But until you actually get in a stand and see what these deer are doing, you know, you might have to be moving on the fly during season. You know, this stand might be 40 yards off. You might have bucks strolling through a certain thicket every day, and you're just a little bit off. So,
yeah, I actually had that happen in Ohio where I was running cameras from, I think, like April all the way up to the season. And I'm like, I have these deer pinned. They're going to get killed here, here, and here. As soon as they shed their velvet, everything changed, and I had to scramble a little bit. But so you got to be flexible. You got to be able to move. Well, one thing is I'm not huge on throwing up 100 stands in July because you don't know if they're going to be the right spots. I like to be mobile, especially when I'm learning a new piece of ground. I'll have a couple preset stands up in areas I think that are going to be good. The cameras are showing good movement, but then I'll definitely be ready to run and gun and make movements and adjust as the season goes on.
Cool, man. Well, it sounds like it's gonna be a fun year for you and the boys down in Kentucky, and I, for one, I'm sure everyone else is looking forward to following along and everything you guys got going there, and wish the best of luck to you in your new season in Kentucky.
Thanks, man. We're kind of breaking ground on 2 new states this year.
Yeah, Iowa and Kentucky this year. It'll be interesting.
Some horn gonna hit the ground.
I think so. I got a good feel about it. This might be like our year.
Yeah.
But the rise this year, we're gonna do some big things, hopefully.
We're gonna put some deer on the ground for you.
Stay tuned. No, I think we're gonna wrap things up. We're kind of getting to our time limit here, so we really just gotta thank our sponsors, guys. Everyone's helping out this year. It's been huge. Like, if it wasn't for the people helping us out, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. This is great. You know, we got a lot of good people behind us. I want to give a shout out to Expedition, Chris and Kurt and everybody over there. They got us shooting some of the most badass bows.
Dude, these things are wicked. That Mako is so fast and so quiet. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm shooting the Mountaineer there. It's a little bit. It's actually, they call that their budget bow. You know that?
Which is crazy because that's a top line bow.
There is nothing budget about that bow.
I had no idea, honestly, until you got it and they said it was their budget bow. I'm like, this thing's awesome.
Yeah. The price tag is the only budget item on that. It's sweet, but you know, we can't thank them enough. They got an awesome product, a great group of guys, and we really appreciate them helping us out. And the guys over at Badlands, man, what do you got to say about the boys over there?
I love our Badlands family. They've treated us so well over the years. I think I've been with them for 4 or 5 years now. And like I said, when they took us to ATA show last year, they treated us like kings. Blake, Nate, thank you guys so much for everything you've done for us. You guys are the best.
Yeah, we really appreciate everything you guys are doing for us and the product they offer too. I mean, the Approach FX. When they come out with the Approach, I'm like, okay, this is sweet. And they come out with the Approach FX, like, dude.
Like, how'd they get better?
What's next? I don't even know. I don't even know what's next. I'm scared to know. Like, it's awesome. But no, we appreciate those guys and everybody over at Stick and Pick too.
Mm-hmm.
They got, if you haven't looked up Stick and Pick, you need to, just get on, I'm assuming it's stickandpick.com. I guess I'm not sure right off the top of my head, but they're on Instagram, Facebook, and everything. And they have trail camera mounts that are really cool, really unique. There's screw-in ones, you put them up in the tree, or there's strap-on ones for public land, and they got stakes for the edge of field edges and everything. And we've used those a ton in so many different situations. They're handy for sure.
No, definitely. I plan on using them a ton this year. Like I said, how my food plots are in Kentucky, the one doesn't have too many trees around it, so I'm going to be definitely throwing up some stick and pick mounts around that sucker.
Yeah. And Brian over at Back 40, give him a big shout out for helping us out with everything he's done. The guy works hard. The guy works real hard on his products, and he cares a lot about the craftsmanship he's putting out.
Dude, he's got an awesome turkey call out now. I still say that's the reason I finally killed a bird. Took 5 years. All it took was Brendan's new call, and that sucker came right in. Thanks, buddy.
Done deal. Buy yourself a Back 40 turkey call, and you will kill a turkey.
Hear that tag, Bragg?
I guarantee it. All right, and HuntWise. I want to give a shout out to the boys at HuntWise, the boys and girls. That's a pretty handy little app there.
Dude, I'm loving it. The fact that you can get a phone number off for the property owner is huge.
That is so cool.
You've never been able to do that before, and that's been the biggest key. Nick, Matt, and I, we have a group text that's gone on for probably like 6 years now. We talk every day, and that's the biggest thing we've probably always talked about is how can we get this person's phone number? Well, now there's an app to do it. I love it. I've been using it for the last 3-4 weeks now, and it's really sweet.
Yeah, that phone number feature is probably my favorite on there because, whether you shot a deer and it ran on the neighbor's chunk and you don't know who he is and you're trying to get a hold of him, or you're trying to gain permission to a new piece or whatever it might be, you go in there and you find the property, tap on it, gives you their name, tap on it again, gives you their phone number, or, well, I guess you can call right off, but the phone number's right there. So that's really cool. In the past we've used other mapping devices where you gotta do a bunch of searching. You gotta get on white pages and pay for a subscription to try to hunt down somebody's phone number, and it ends up being a long process. So this makes it really easy, and gotta give those guys a shout out for having an awesome app there, and I think you guys should check that out. That's pretty cool. But that kind of wraps up episode 3. I think we covered a little bit there. We didn't get too crazy into it. We're about half an hour in, and we're gonna get back to doing some editing here in the Rise studio.
Yeah, we gotta get Nick's Michigan turkey kill done, so we're gonna get behind the computer and whip this sucker out.
Yep, that's coming right up, so look for that. It might even be up before, probably not. We're pretty busy this week. You'll probably see it just after this, I'm sure. So anyway, we're out of here. You guys have a good night, good morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching, I guess. We're out. We're getting back to work. You guys have a good one.
See ya.
Nailed it.